Today's question is, what is the best one-sentence summary of World War I that you can come up with? So let's see if I can pull it off. So here goes. Europe's great powers were consumed by rivalries, tangled alliances, and new technologies in the early 20th century, setting the stage for a global conflict that would not end until 1918 and fundamentally alter the political order of the world. And there you have it, a sweeping one-sentence summary of the Great War that encompasses the causes, key characteristics, and consequences of this global conflict. Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about a sentence, a very specific kind of sentence that might sound a little silly at first, but trust me, they're a lot more common than you think and they are surprisingly powerful. And today we're going to try our hand at writing them ourselves. One-sentence summaries are used all the time in academic writing, and these are some examples of really good ones from some pretty reputable historians. So, why do historians do this? Well, you do and have a lot of space on an exam or a paper to be giving all the background and context to something. So a good one-sentence summary can help convey a complex topic quickly and efficiently. And so what makes a good one-sentence summary? That's what we're going to talk about today. We look at some of the qualities that make for a good one-sentence summary, and then we write our own. And since we're doing this with World War I, a subject I know pretty well, I'm also going to tell you how my one-sentence summary compares to other historians. In a moment, what qualifies as a one-sentence summary? Well, it's a summary, and it's only one sentence long. Maybe it seems obvious, but obviously, there's some nuance to it. It needs to capture the most important elements of a topic and present them in a clear and concise way. So when writing a one-sentence summary, there are a few things you need to consider. First, you need to know your audience. Who are you writing this for? Are they experts on the topic or people who are just learning about it? What's their level of knowledge? This will help you determine how much background information you need to include. For example, you probably don't need to explain what the French Revolution was, but you might want to explain what role it played in causing World War I next. You need to identify the main idea. What is the one thing you want to convey about your topic? In the case of World War I, that might be something like the war resulted from a complex web of alliances and rivalries among European powers. Once you've identified the main idea, you need to support it with evidence. What are the key details that support your main idea? For World War I, some key details might include the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the rapid mobilization of European armies, and the entry of colonial troops into the conflict. Finally, you need to make sure your summary is clear and concise. Use precise language and avoid jargon or overly complex sentence structure. And you can always go back and add more detail if your audience wants it. But when you're going for a one-sentence summary, brevity is the name of the game. So now that we understand what makes a good one-sentence summary, let's put our knowledge to the test and write one for World War I. Here we go. In the summer of 1914, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria triggered a diplomatic crisis that resulted in a complex web of alliances drawing in European powers and their colonies into a global conflict marked by new technologies, unprecedented violence, and the collapse of empires, setting the stage for a peace settlement that would have profound consequences for the 20th century. Okay, so let's break this down. First, we've got the main idea. World War I began with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and quickly escalated due to a series of alliances. And then we've got the supporting details. The war involved European powers and their colonies, featured new technologies and unprecedented violence, and led to the collapse of several empires. Finally, the last part of the summary highlights the significance of the war and its consequences for the 20th century. Alright, so now let's compare my one-sentence summary to those of some professional historians. So here are 3 one-sentence summaries of World War I from 3 different historians, and I'll link to their books down below. The first one is from Barbara W. Tuchman's The Guns of August. And this is what she says. The outbreak of the war in 1914 was not caused by any single event, but resulted from the interaction of forces which had been building for decades. Now that's a pretty good summary. She captures the main idea that World War I didn't have a single cause, but rather multiple long-term factors that contributed to the outbreak of war. She also mentions the year 1914, which is important for establishing the timeline of events. And she also mentions the interaction of forces, which alludes to the complexity of the topic without getting bogged down in details. Overall, this is a solid one-sentence summary, and it's a good model for how to write one yourself. Our second example is from John Keegan's The First World War. He says this: The First World War was a unique event in the history of modern warfare because it was the first in which the major combatants were fully mobilized, societies in which all aspects of national life were subordinated to the effort of winning. Now that's also a pretty good summary. Keegan focuses on the total war aspect of World War I, which is definitely one of its defining characteristics. He emphasizes that the war involved not just the military, but all aspects of national life, And he also highlights the uniqueness of the war, which is another important aspect to consider when writing a summary. Now, our final example is from a historian named J. Winner. He says this: "The First World War was a catastrophe of unprecedented proportions, shattering old certainties and creating new perils and possibilities for the modern world." Okay, so this is a bit more of an interpretive summary. Winner focuses on the significance of World War I and its impact on the modern world. He uses strong language like unprecedented and shattered to emphasize the magnitude of the war and its consequences. While this is a bit more opinion-based, it is still a solid summary, and it shows how one-sentence summaries can be used to make an argument. So overall, what do these three summaries tell us about writing good one-sentence summaries? Well, first they show us that there is no one right way to write a good one-sentence summary. It depends on your purpose and your audience. Second, they show us that you don't need to include every detail in a one-sentence summary. You just need to hit the most important points. And third, they show us that you can be creative with your one-sentence summaries. You can use figurative language and strong verbs to make your writing more engaging. But ultimately, the most important thing is that your one-sentence summary is accurate and clear. If you want to learn more about World War I, I've got plenty more videos available. Check out this playlist for more information. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.